Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome back. We are the Unconnoisseurs of Jazz. Tonight, we're going to be talking about an artist who's a saxophone player, composer, and band leader, recognized for his innovative approach to contemporary jazz. As a leader, David Binney has released numerous albums featuring original compositions that combine sophisticated harmonies, complex rhythms, and elements of jazz, rock, and electronic music. Tonight, we're going to be talking about none other than David Binney, the album South. It was released in 2003 in the U.S. We'll get to that detail, why it's interesting here in just a little bit. So welcome to the show, everyone.
Welcome.
Welcome. Good to see you guys tonight.
Definitely.
Yeah, feels like it's been a long week.
Wow. Yeah. It has been.
It has.
It's a good week of listening to music, though. I'm really excited to get into the discussion tonight about David because it's a good week of listening to music.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get into that when we talk about our week in music.
I'm sure. Let's get into some audio clips right off the bat. You guys want to hear things? That way we can jump into the information, and Matt can share with us some talking points. We can dialogue it, and then the next phase is to tell you what we think and what we rate. So with that being said, I think, Dad, you were ready at song number one.
Song number one, Out Beyond Ideas, starting at 2:45.
Do tell.
Thank you. As I listen to that, it seems like I've heard music similar to that before. Was that Maiden Voyage, or what? What was it?
You were getting Maiden Voyage vibes?
Yeah.
Okay.
What were you getting?
I was getting Brian Blade Fellowship vibes.
Okay.
Perpetual, right?
Perpetual.
Perceptual.
Okay.
Perceptual.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. It seemed like I'm saying it sounded like something that we're familiar with.
Dad, I dig on the Maiden Voyage though. I think there's something about some of these tracks, the Traveler, the Global Soul, which obviously in Leaving the Sea. So there is some of that Maiden Voyage. What I got a lot of was Wayne Shorter on the soprano. That's what I could hear, like Allegria, for example, or Footprints Live, hearing just the minimal notes. So I jive with Maiden Voyage too. But Perceptual, I mean, come on.
I see that. I got Brian Blade all the way. I even just made it in my notes right now. Is it? I mean, of course, we didn't mention the artist, but you got David Binney on sax, you got Chris Potter on alto sax, Yuri Kane on piano, Adam Rogers on the guitar, Scott Coley on the bass, and then Brian Blade on the drums. And it seems to me, and Dad, that was a great clip, by the way, but it seems to me anytime Brian Blade is playing, you get that kind of vibe almost in the music. You know what I mean?
It's Matt, it's interesting you mentioned that. I'm going to go ahead and include this now because we're going to talk about it. The other drummer on this is who?
Jim Black.
And if you look at the two tracks he was on, number 5 and number 10, his vibe it is really avant-garde. It doesn't move smooth like this. So I kind of think about that. Yes, it's Brian Blade flow, but then on the Jim Black, those are very different tracks. Those are track number 5 and number 10, but everything else is Brian Blade.
Brian Blade. Mm-hmm. Oh,
much love to Brian Blade.
That's a great nugget. Yeah, that's a great nugget.
Yeah, good.
All right, who's up next?
Matt?
Yeah? Okay, I'm up next. For me, it would be song number 3, The Global Soul. If you could start me right at about 50 seconds and play me about a minute. So for me, it was the buildup. It was the anticipation of the other members coming in. Starts with the bass, double bass guitar, and he takes the whole beginning. I mean, he gets that 50 seconds all to himself just to start the song in the first place. But then it's just that build up, and anticipation of those other artists coming in, and you can hear everything so clearly. That's what I like. The difference between the tenor and the alto sax there, it's kind of they're not out of tune, but you can tell the timbre difference of the two instruments. So, but yeah, I just like it when everything comes in and starts flowing. So that's why I picked it. I liked it.
I enjoyed it too. I like that.
I was a fan of the track for the same reason, Matt. What I actually smiled about early on is thinking that as it began, there's a lot that reminds me with Brian in the background kind of charging the tempo. And it almost reminds me of something I would hear out of the Metheny group. So that was kind of my first thought is Matt probably picked this because it does have the feel of that. We're not comparing apples for apples here, and I'm not going to compare the albums, but it does have that kind of fast-paced charging of like Bright Side's Life.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I've grown to appreciate is that drum beat moves it forward more rapidly, and then the musicians sit on top kind of slow.
Yeah.
Halftime. Yeah,
they just kind of kick back and do their thing and let the drummer drive the bus.
Yeah. Yep. So I wanted to hear Leaving the Sea. That would actually be song number 4. I want to start at 8 minutes and 30 seconds, but I want to preface it with this. At the very beginning, not at the very beginning, but like Matt's clip started out nice and calm. At about 7 minutes in on this song, it is so mellow, so chill, so easy. It's calm and smoothing, and then it builds with a guitar solo. And into that 7:30, almost 8 minutes, that solo by Adam Rogers, and then into a beautiful short solo on the tenor by Chris Speed, and then at 8:30, you're hearing David and Chris play together. And Matt, for the same reasons you love your clip, hearing these two guys play side by side is just pretty amazing. So I'm going to start this at 8 minutes and 30 seconds. They've been building and building and building. And then it kicks off into what we're about to hear now. Unfortunately, the clip itself does not do the real justice to what takes place in the building and the ramping of that. And what it feels like is the moment that a storm comes in, it's been nice and calm. The beach is nice and easy flowing. Then all of a sudden the waves start to get a little bit bigger, and then they're bigger, then they're bigger, and I dropped you right in to the full waves of things. For everybody listening to the channel, go back and listen to that particular song as it builds. It is so really easy moving and flowing, and then it gets to that epicenter. And to me, there's so much raw emotion that dumps into that song at that moment. That's why it stands out to me. That, and it is a little more avant-garde than most of the rest of the tracks.
I'm just going to read a quote from Nate here, right off Nate Chinnon's website. It says, "Listen here for the braided, dark-hued saxophone lines, for the tidal swell of rhythm, for an inexorable forward pull at every moment with every move." That's what your clip, I mean, that your clip just highlights that. Dark hued saxophone lines, tidal swell of rhythm, forward pull at every moment.
Yeah.
Amazing clip. That's a great clip.
So many other clips, though, because we all usually run into this. I call a song and Matt goes, "Oh, I've got that one too," or Dad's got it. And so we find this rhythm that we're all having a backup song. And I think we all chose the backup songs today with this same thing in mind. There is that forward driving that takes place in this. I noticed that all 6 of the songs that we picked, neither of them were track number 5 or number 10 with Jim Black as the drummer. I liked them, but as the album goes, I don't think that they really fit that well with the rest of the album. They fit, but it's not like a perfect fit.
Unless, Dad, you started us off with Maiden Voyage, and now that's all I think about. I mean, if you look at the names of the tracks on David's album, Out Beyond Ideas, so you're out on the far seas. The Global Soul, of course, the ocean is a global. Leaving the Sea is song number 4. Traveler is song number 6. South is song number 11. It's all again, Aqua related. Maybe the drummer
took a clue off of that, or
either that or the 2 that are in there are waves pushing him somewhere else. On the high seas, you catch a stray wave, you're heading west, and this wave pushes you east.
We're finding less and less on these albums on Wikipedia. So you really do have to go do your homework on these and create your own concept. I loved it when you could just go to Wikipedia and all the information's there. Such as maybe it was recorded, and it was, at separate times, but why? Maybe the Jim Black stuff was another album he was working on and then thought, you know what, it'd be really good on South instead of this other album, so we'll just pull that in. Who knows? I'm sure the viewers, somebody knows, so let us know how that fit or why.
I get your point, though, that it's almost not cohesive. It's almost out of left field, those 2 tracks, because I did feel that way too. When it was Brian Blade drumming, I could relax, I could take a breath, I hate to admit it, but background music for work, tune in and tune out, tune out and tune in. If you're working and you need to tune out for a few minutes and come right back in, and then Jim Black comes on and you're like, oh, can't ignore that. Gotta listen, otherwise, so it almost not cohesive.
So let's talk about some cohesiveness.
You ready?
Some information, baby.
Okay. All right, here we go. Just like I've said for 132 other weeks, whatever you do it to jazz. You're going to hear in Our Week in Music coming up in just a little bit. That's what we do. We listen to jazz all week long. I do want to remind our listeners that we are Unconnoisseurs. We're not professional critics of jazz music. Drew and I started our journey over yeah, over 130 weeks ago, because we were stuck in a rut, a musical listening rut, and jazz, for the most part, scared me because I didn't know much about it. And after 130 weeks, man, I know a lot more, but I still don't know everything. And we're still on our journey checking out these new artists, and I'm loving every minute of it. So that's what we're about. We're just hanging out, talking about jazz, talking about an album you're going to hear in our week. That's pretty much what we do, is just listen to jazz. So for this list, we are using Nate Chinnon's book called Playing Changes, Jazz for the New Century. And we all three read the book. If you'd like to go and purchase the book, it's available at your local bookstore or at Amazon.com. We're not affiliated with Nate. We're not sponsored by Nate. We're just using Nate's list. It's in the back of his book as our guide to our journey on this new jazz, which, it took me a while to get into the top 100 list, but man, and we're 30 weeks into the new jazz, and it's starting to spark my interest again. So I'm loving every minute. Yeah. This is number 32. David is 32. Now, not all of those were on the list because while Dad was out, we created our own list for about 8 weeks. But we're 30 weeks into the new journey. So, yeah. So.
And then we did our 10 favorites, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. Yep. So we are in the 2003 era of Nate's book. And so far in 2003, we've covered The Bad Plus. These Are the Vistas. That was the album that we covered last week. And of course, this week, we're talking about David Binney, the album called South. So on my slide here, like Drew said, there's not much on his wiki page. There is some on his website. And then, of course, Nate's got some stuff on the website as well. So just a brief bio about David. David started playing sax at an early age, and he moved to New York to play jazz at just the ripe old age of 19. And that's a big move, from a kid, just to move to the big city of New York and just start playing jazz music at the age of 19. And I'll tell you, the more I read about David, and this isn't on the slide, but the more I read about David, the more I appreciated the hard work that it took to get started and the work that it continually takes him. I sent you guys the link for that interview, and I think in the interview, he's like, I work hard every day, and then these newcomers come in and they seem to grab the fame and the fortune. And I look at my work and think, why isn't that me? And I don't know. I had a greater respect for David after I read that. And we'll put a link to the article, the article that I sent out earlier anyways. David did study with George Coleman, Dave Liebman, and Phil Woods. And if you've never heard of those names, like we hadn't, go look those cats up on Wikipedia for sure, because they've got. Go ahead, Drew.
Oh, they got a pedigree, that's for sure. They all have a pretty long, healthy pedigree. So there is no doubt that he has studied from some of the finest out there.
Yeah,
and finest of the legendaries. We're not, of the legendaries. Well,
yeah, George Coleman played with the likes of Chet Baker, Miles Davis, Red Garland, Slide Hampton, Ahmad Jamal. The list just Lee Morgan. The list just keeps going on and on and on. And we could sit and read names all night long about George Coleman. Dave Liebman, he's got a longer list. So with multiple Grammys won and everything else. So that's who David was studying saxophone. And those are, I don't know if I'd call them as heroes, but it kind of be hard not to. Yeah. You're taking lessons from a guy that played with Miles. You're gonna you probably sit and listen to stories more than practice, maybe, right?
Well, but it also speaks to his struggle with I laid a foundation, and everybody else is building on it, collecting royalties from it. Well, some of these giants of the past did the same thing. Played themselves, worked hard, developed a reputation, and it wasn't for years later that you look back and go, man, these were the giants of jazz. I kind of wonder this as I finished up last week's episode, thinking about how the Vistas, these are the Vistas, Bad Plus, did these rock and roll tunes. It's the same thing as doing a folk tune. It's the same thing as doing an Irish tune, as a jazz tune. It's the same thing as rock and funk. So these became folklore songs, if you will, after a certain time. And I think that's kind of where he's at. He's studied with these greats. He is one of those giants that people are building on and building off of, more than that. But so I think those two go hand in hand. He's studied with some brilliant people.
Well, and he's played with some brilliant people too. And so earlier in the week, you and I were talking, and I said, well, he gets an extra notch on my score this week just because he's played with Maria Schneider. Now, we couldn't find a recording that he played on with Maria, but if he says he's played with her, I'm sure that it's either a live situation or that just didn't get recorded, or maybe he didn't get noted in the liner notes as playing.
I think she did a pretty good job of making sure that everybody who had played a part was on there. So I'm guessing it was a live, or we're doing this performance at a festival and called you up. I'm blown away by how many festivals have not recorded. So you go back and find something. We're fortunate that we have YouTube to go look at. Somebody stood there with their phone and recorded it. So it could have been something like that, that if y'all know where he played with Maria Schneider, put it in the comments, because we'd love to, always love to listen to Maria.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to twist my arm to go listen to David Binney play with Maria Schneider. So all right. Anyways, David started his own record label called Mythology Records. Drew, do you remember why he started that? I don't remember reading it. I put it on the slide, but
I think that I do, because he had seen a need and a possibility to do that. He was producing some albums prior to that, and he said, well, I can do this. Let's do this. And I think that coincides with the whole, I've done all this production. I've got the record label. Now maybe not I'm playing as much. I'm not getting as many gigs because he was busy doing that. And it's got to be a tough world between the production world and the performance world. How do you blend those two together and stay relevant? So I think it was all about, I've got some cool stuff. I've got some cool people that we want to get out. We've got the opportunity. Let's do it.
Well, and it's either that or burn the candle at both ends, because you're out gigging with your friends and making a little money that way. But then you got to come back home and work and finish the studio stuff that you promised you know that you're getting paid for too. So I don't know, maybe he was getting burned out, and he just decided just to stay on the recording side for a while. I mean, he's got a great discography out. So Yep. So I read this quote earlier, but I'm going to read it again. Every member of this group was functioning at his peak. And that's a quote from Nate Shannon right on Nate's website, Playing Changes book. So David's also got a website. Go check out davidbinney.com for more information. And if I forgot anything about David Binney, please leave it in the comments. Let us know. Yeah. All right. I do have a quote from David, though. And the quote I put on the slide this week: I never compose music based on anything but what sounds good to me. When I read that quote, it immediately reminded me of Pat Metheny. Pat, Gary Burton says, bring me an album. But Pat said, I'm going to play what I like to hear. And if you don't like it, tough. I want to play what I like. So that quote from Pat Metheny made me just fall in love with this quote right here from David Binney too. I never compose music based on anything but what sounds good to me.
And that quote's pretty close to the interview statement that he made, which I find interesting. I'll talk about it here in just a few minutes, or I'll start with it now. But in that interview, he says people get paid to get these national endowments. They're paid to go produce this music. And the questionnaire said, so do you come up with a theme and then write your music? He goes, I don't care for the people who do that. They're paid by this endowment or that program to write a suite or concerto for it. I don't do that. I write what I like, and that's what I'm going to do. And then I realized that in 1998, his first album was from a National Endowment grant, the National Endowment for the Arts, which was Point Game, which was that. And so hearing him say that in the interview in 2020, and then going back and looking at 1998 and thinking, man, where do you really stand on that? But I think,
maybe he was put off. Maybe writing for the endowment put him off so much that he says, I don't like it, and I don't care if you guys do it, but it's not for me. Maybe that
which
did put him off.
solidifies his statement. I never compose music based on anything but what sounds good.
Yep. I mean, don't get me wrong. John Williams is he's a great composer, and I love, Indiana Jones and the Star Wars and E.T. and everything else that he's done. But it's got to get old, trying to come up with something new.
I was making sure you couldn't see my music stand because Lily's orchestra music is over there with John Williams trilogy. I'm like, where'd you come up with that?
But it's got to be difficult to try and think of something that is going to outdo what you've already done. How classic is the Star Wars theme song? You hear that first note, and it's all it takes is the first note, and you know what it is.
Yeah.
How classic is Indiana Jones? You hear the first few measures, and you know it's Indiana Jones. So for David, maybe he's not trying to outdo what he did, but he's just tired of doing what he did in '98. That's what I think.
Music progresses, and if it doesn't, it gets stagnant. Always be creating.
Get that monkey fighter off my stage.
That's what I'm thinking, baby.
All right. Well, hey, thank you for letting me do that. You can always come check out more information on us at theunconnoisseur.com. That's our website. We have a 24-hour streaming radio channel called WTUR, and that's at WTUR.org. You can hit that from your computer or your smartphone, listen to 24-hour streaming jazz all day and night if you want to. Sometimes you'll hear our voices, but if you just want to hear our voices and don't like seeing our beautiful faces, you can go to Amazon, iTunes, and Spotify and check out our podcast. It's this episode, but it's in podcast form. Make sure, since you're here on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, though, and let us know how we're doing and what do you think of our journey.
Absolutely.
All right, Dad, you've been awfully quiet. I want to let you start.
Well,
tell us what you thought of the album.
Yes, not a problem, because when I first listened to it, I wasn't so impressed with it until I listened over and over and over again, and especially today. Today, I had more opportunity to reflect on what I was hearing, and what I realized, there's a lot of movement in this album, a lot of it interaction. I found it a word passionate, with some soft, gentle tones, but there's some other harder tones that can stir a heavier heartbeat and a heart rate without raising a person's blood pressure. Okay, some of the avant-garde stuff for me challenges me through my ears, and it could have a tendency I want to push it away. I don't think there was any track here that I wanted to push away. So I moved into it. I also wrote, it moves the soul. To me, it was the gentle tones are moving, were moving my soul, and I appreciated that. So that's my reflection at this point on the album. So, yeah, there was some tracks that I would, tracks or selections that I may not go back to, but overall, the album can move you, and you want to hear more, and you anticipate what's coming next with each track. And so that's where I am with my reflections on the album.
I got two questions for you.
Yeah.
Is it recognizable? Will you know who it is in a month from now when it comes back up on your shuffle playlist?
I believe so. Especially the tracks that we highlighted, the selections we highlighted.
The only problem is I would guess Brian Blade first.
Okay.
For me, that's just me. I would hear that. I would hear it and think, oh yeah, that's Brian Blade, fellowship for sure.
Yeah. I might think of EST as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Question number 2: did you get the chance to play any for Mom or Aunt Des?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I mentioned jazz this week, and I'll say more about that when we talk about our week in music and jazz. But no, Aunt Des was not interested at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Drew, what about you? What's
some
your thoughts
people are
on the album?
closed-minded, and that's okay.
Yeah.
We've got to accept that this music is not for everybody. I can't remember off the top of my head who quoted that. Not everybody's going to love this. Not everybody has to. Was it Branford Marsalis that said that?
Might have been.
For me, the album, it was so. It blew me away, and part of it is, Dad, kind of as you said, the same. For me, the saxophones were intertwined, and it seemed like the whole band together was braiding something. Every little strand crossed every little strand, and it braided this beautiful album together. They were all intertwined. And I don't know how to describe it, but in animations, you'll see ribbons crossing, kind of creating a really cool design. To me, that's what the album...
Helix, right? They call that a helix?
Yes. To me, that's what it was. My other track was Traveler, and it just blows me away how intertwined they are in that. The album, to me, was just beautiful. And the more I think about Jim Black's drum in those songs, number 5 and number 10, I think it was actually building to that track. And then it brought you back down. Then it built back up to the next track. So I think it just was, it was amazing. Amazing sound waves created from the deep, rich texture. That's kind of how I think about that. It was a great selection of songs, period. And of course, then I listened to some other things as well, which just takes me back to this album, and I went, shebang. Not that the other ones weren't bangers. They were. But you come back and listen to the cohesion of this band, and it was worth it. It was worth it. So
a question for you guys. Did you find it entertaining? Would you say that much of it was entertaining? Or stimulating, but...
Stimulating would be a word. I would say it was heavy at some times.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy, thought-provoking, entertaining. Yeah, I would say it's entertaining. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we've asked this question before about, was this music for the musician or for the audience?
I believe that it's music for the audience.
Okay.
That's what I think. Yeah. Drew, what do you think?
I agree with that.
Music.
The approachability of it. And I will tell you here in a little bit, for me, when I rated it, it was the emotion. And because I could feel the emotion, I knew that they were playing for an audience. They were not playing for the musicians. Well, for the musicians. They were not trying to inspire the musician to sit down and pick it apart. They were playing so we enjoyed it. And I think that's what makes great albums.
I don't think there's much to pick apart about this album. That's the thing.
I'm picking it apart like, oh, they played the E7 flat 5 over this chord. Why'd you choose to do the C sharp minor 7 next to the D sharp, whatever it was?
That's Rick Beato.
Yeah.
We're not Rick Beato.
but the musicians weren't going to pick it apart because it was just laid bare. It was emotional. That's how I would respond to that. Yeah, not much to pick apart. Entertaining's a tough word, though, because when I think of entertaining, I think of some other albums like Ezra Collective. I'm going to Get Up and Dance. That to me is entertaining.
Great day in Newcastle.
Yeah,
that's entertaining.
To entertain the mind and the soul, I think this was entertaining on that deep level, like you said, Matt.
So what about you, Matt? You got
my first note that I wrote about the album was smorgasbord. This is a full buffet. This is not a amuse-bouche, small bites, tasty morsels. This is the entire buffet. And I'm not talking Chinese buffet. I'm talking prime rib and mashed potatoes with the beef rich gravy and the chicken and noodles buffet, because you've got everything right on your plate. Here's what I liked about the album. It was a cohesive group album. They did not solo a lot. Solos were very, very limited when they were able to solo. Chris got his chance on a couple of tunes. David has his chance on a couple of tunes. The bass player, of course, opens up with Mike on song number 3, My Clip. That's not even really a solo. That's just starting the tune. Yeah. So I love the cohesiveness, the mashed potatoes and that dark beef gravy going together with the prime rib. It's just I thought it was a masterpiece, actually. And I started the week, I was judging the book by the cover. And I tend to do that a lot. And I tend to be wrong a lot. You look at the artwork of the album and you think, it looks kind of thrown together. It looks kind of cheap. I don't understand the artwork of the album. And then you see a picture of David. He looks like just some street performer. He's got a t-shirt, a baseball cap, and he's out there just playing. And you're like, how good can this cat be, right? And so in my mind, I had already made up, I'm not going to enjoy this week's music. But man, like you, Dad, the more that you listen to it, the more that it grows on you, and the more it's just, I'm excited about this week. I really am, because I'm going to read it again. When you compare music, you lose the joy of listening to it. But this week I'm not comparing it, but it reminds me of Brian Blade Fellowship. And I'm going back to how much I enjoy Brian Blade, because he was one of the first ones we covered on this new list. He's my reference point. When we did the Jazzwise Top 100, we got to number 10, and we knew. We had the 90
top 25 prediction. We kind of knew who was coming.
Had the 90 memorized because we had all that music in our ears, and we could spout off information about all of those artists. And then we jump into this new list, and you think, I don't know any of these artists, and I'm starting right from ground zero. But Brian Blade seems to be my anchor for some reason, and I love his music so much. And so when music reminds me of Brian Blade, that's when it gets me right here, and I'm like, okay, I got this. I like this. So that's where I'm at this week. It's a smorgasbord of an album. You can pick out your bits and pieces, but you're always coming back to that mashed potatoes and gravy and the prime rib.
Yep. I do
good
agree.
Point. Very good point. I like the idea of the smorgasbord, man. I'm hungry for some prime rib.
Right. I just had dinner, and I could eat a prime rib.
There's always room for more.
A real thick piece. Yeah,
real thick piece. Yeah. With the horsey sauce.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So as we get into rate, I want to read this because this is from All About Jazz. And then we'll go into, let's talk about our numbers. South, the album, proves that jazz is not restricted to a solo head structure. nor does it have to be a lot of indiscriminate wailing and an arcane tongue, as leader Binney takes full advantage of his talented ensemble. And this excellent disc reveals just how connected the common threads of music from jazz to R&B to classical can be. Now, obviously, I want to say this. David Binney on sax, soprano sax, alto sax. And then you had Jim Black on 2 drums, 5 and 10. Brian Blade on drums. Yuri Kane on the piano. Scott Cooley on the bass. Adam Rogers on the guitar. I don't think I missed anybody in that.
No.
So this album was, from All About Jazz, just one of those freeing albums. And that says a lot about that smorgasbord. I'm free to pull from whatever I want to, and it blended it. To me, this album, because of the words I used earlier, intertwined. There was so much raw emotion that I could feel from the album. I went ahead and put this at 9.
Oh, excellent.
What about y'all? Where did you rest with your ratings? We've talked extremely positive, so I'm expecting some good numbers. I could have gone to a 9 or a 10. I could have been changed to do that. But after this afternoon, I said, it's a 9. I don't know what I would do differently to get it to a 9.5 or a 10. There's nothing to keep it from there. I would recognize it. Would it be yeah, it'd probably be one of those that I will go back and listen to a lot over again.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say there's room for improvement, but...
Right.
Now I'm like, maybe I should have said 9.5. Where'd y'all land?
Well, okay. Had we had our typical Tuesday morning conversation about it, I probably could have talked you into a 9.5, or you could have talked me into a 9.5, because I'm right there with you for every single of the same reasons. I rated this album this week at a 9 as well. The craftsmanship is there. The awareness of the musicians is definitely there. The creativity, it's there. But again, it feels so much like a Brian Blade album. The spirit is there, and the emotion for me is what drove me this week to a 9. I could have been talked into a 9.5. I'm not sure a 10. I'm not sure I could have given it a 10, but a 9.5, I definitely could have been talked into. So,
well, gentlemen, I'm at an 8.
Okay.
A solid 8. And just, I didn't have my rating in pencil, but I've scratched and added and changed some numbers since we've been talking about this. So I went from where I was initially.
Which was what? Did we talk about? Oh, at 7?
Oh, yeah, 7.5.
Okay.
Yeah, 7.5.
Yeah, we're going 7.5.
And
can I get an 8, 8.5, 8.5, 8.75? Anybody going 9, 9.5, 9.5? Anybody going 9? Can we get an 8.59? Just had to do it.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, I'm mostly satisfied with an 8. I could be talked into a little more. Again, the more I listened to it, the more it grew on me. The more I appreciated it. The more I related to it. The passion, I felt the passion coming through at times. Other times I didn't quite catch the passion of it all. So I'm at an 8.
Okay, that's a great score.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 8 and above to me is one of those almost perfect. Going to come back to it every time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
7 is 5, 6, and 7. Yeah, and then anything below a 5 is I won't go back to it. So an 8's a great score. There's nothing wrong with an 8. And maybe part of that is some of your weekend music too, and we'll hear about that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a great.
So this is, what genre do you place this in?
I place this post bop.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And some avant-garde.
Some avant-garde.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Modern. Neo-modern maybe.
Okay.
Neo-modern jazz.
It is tough. You really want to get into that.
It's tough because there's no wiki page on the album to tell us what it is. so
We have to
Yeah.
make it up ourselves. And I would think post-bop, it's one of the notes that I said, the post-bop is probably pretty good in that. Modern jazz, but like all jazz said, you can see the R&B, you can see the jazz, you can see the classical into it. There's something that moves you. So it's jazz.
for me, though, oh, I'm sorry, Dad. Go ahead.
I was going to ask about the improvisation and how you relate to that. Did you sense some improv?
In his interview, he said we came in with a form and we kind of stick to that, and then everybody does their own thing. So we want to have some kind of a form where we are going to be coherent, where we do play together, but for the most part, we wanted the openness for anyone to go anywhere that they wanted to. And so I think that if you've got a saxophone soloing over something, what are the guys in the back going to do? There's really no form to keep it. So they're kind of filling in as they go, which, again, kind of leads to some of that avant-garde. The drummer and the bass did a great job of holding it all down. So I think that in the interview, he talked a little bit about that, and I appreciated that. There is some form. It's not strictly adhered to, like you've got to play it like it's a
head solo
march.
head, right?
Yeah,
a head solo head.
Yeah,
song.
Yeah, good.
Well, and I was going to say too, I didn't get any chance to listen to music by his instructors. You know, I don't know. I don't know where David's coming from. We talked about his instructors, but I didn't get a chance. So I don't know if he was motivated writing this style based on one instructor or the other's music. You know, I failed to do that. So maybe he's picking up styles from his teachers and pushing that off on this out. I don't know. It's just a thought. You know, influences were some of our big talking points, and it seems like we haven't talked about influences in the last 30 weeks. Yeah. So I don't know.
Okay, good.
Yeah. All right. So we've got scores out there. And, you know, we're talking about music from 2003. And this is one factor we didn't mention, but the album actually came out in the year 2000. And it was released in Japan first. And we didn't get it in America until 2003. Any idea why that happened, Drew? I'm just asking. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just asking.
We get into some of that. When you look at the record label act, a lot of it is a European label. And so I think some of it is there is currently a huge draw in Japan for jazz music. We've talked about that with Roy Hargrove. We've talked about that with so many other recording artists. I know that Andre Hayward had been over there. Part of it is there's such a huge demand for this style of music that it doesn't surprise me to put it out there right away and use it as a test market. Act then, a European label, drops it over there. We know Act because of Emma Ravich and so many other great artists that are on that label. So then I think it drops over there, and then by 2003, they're like, man, this thing is tested extremely well in the markets. We need to drop it in the U.S., and by 2003, so many other albums from this group or these individuals have been known. And I think that in some of the readings about this, going back to the whole everybody's building on my work, except for me, you hear a lot of the names that have been built from this. People that David had played with. So many other names have gotten that reputation. Maybe David just didn't have the reputation, so we tested it out in Japan, then we dropped it elsewhere, and then brought it to the States. That's what I'm looking at from a lot of other albums that have done something similar. It's usually backwards. It drops in the States, and then it goes over to Japan.
Yeah, that's good. Good theory, though. I didn't think about the test market aspect of it. It's a great theory.
And by 2000, he had only been out there. His first album was 98.
98, right? Just
so
2 years.
It was just 2 years. 2 years in this particular industry. He had been doing other stuff prior, but so test it out.
We're talking about all this old 1998, 1999.
Yeah, tell me what's new. I'm tired of it. That was all 2003. I mean, that was 23 years ago, baby.
It sounds like it's my turn to
Your turn.
Jump up.
What's new?
Well, what we have tonight is a Tamika Reed Quartet, and the album is called Dance, Skip, and Hop. And it was released February 13th of this year. Seems like the last couple have been released around the same time. There's 5 songs on this album, 47 minutes long. And when I read some description of this album, I saw the OOYH. And I thought, how do you pronounce that? Because I wasn't tracking. The album is Out of Your Head Records. And I kept trying to pronounce OOYH.
Oi.
Oi. That's about
Japanese
what I came
label.
up with. Yeah, exactly.
Brought to you by
So
Mr. Miyagi.
Oh, Danielson.
Oi, Danielson.
Oi, boy. So Tamika Reed is a cellist. And you can obviously, throughout the album, you can hear the cello coming through. Mary, another name that's very familiar to us, Mary Halverson, who is a guitarist. Jason Rubke plays the bass. And Thomas Fujiwara is the drummer. And let me just read some other stuff here. 2 months into 2026, it was already predicted to be a top 10 album of the year contender by Jazz Times and The Guardian. So we got some classic work here. In early May, Reed was announced as one of the 6 recipients of the prestigious 2026 Doris Duke Artist Award, and Dance, Skip, and Hop was featured on NPR Fresh Radio or Fresh Air, which said her latest album is one of her most compelling. So, my friends, Dance, Skip, and Hop is something I suggest you put into your ears this week and learn to appreciate the quality, the musicianship, this is an artist that's been around a while, and she's attracted a lot of attention worldwide. And so check out Hop, Dance, Skip, and Hop. Okay,
Perfect.
That's what we got for this week.
It's a great recommendation. Great recommendation,
Yeah.
Drew. Did you get a chance to listen to it?
I did. You guys razzed me last week about I'll get to it sooner or later. I got to this early because you had sent it out, which is my reminder for all of y'all on YouTube Music. You're not going to find that. I think it was on iTunes where we ended up getting that album. I will put a link below, which is an unlisted link to a playlist with these songs. So check below for the playlist that we've put out there for y'all to listen to if you don't have access to it.
Super secret password for that link?
They need to go
Jazz
to the description
2026.
below, which means they need to be paying attention.
May I add one more?
Yes.
Or at least one more.
Yes, Columbo.
Here's my thing.
Just one more thing.
Just one more. Tamika has played with a group called the Art Ensemble of Chicago. And we're familiar with the Art Ensemble of Chicago.
Yes, we are.
Gotta see him to
perhaps-
appreciate him, says Taylor Swift, a.k.a.
That's
Phil
right.
Rice.
Yeah. Yep. So,
Oh, we're going off the rails.
yeah. There you go.
That's a great fact, though, Dad. Not if I'd have known that, but I'm glad I know that now. I'll listen to the album again with that in mind, that she's played with the Art Ensemble of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great. Yeah.
It was a great album.
Yeah.
So for the listeners, go check it out. Dad, you were warmed up. Tell us about your week in music.
Well, last Tuesday, I was scheduled to get an infusion. Got to the hospital. They plugged me up, took my blood, and I told the nurse that because of an abscess in my front tooth, I was on antibiotics. She consulted with the doctor, and the doctor said, nope, we can't go ahead with the infusion. So I was sent home. I'm going to go back tomorrow and anticipate getting the infusion tomorrow. That'll be number 10 out of 14. So I'm counting down. Tuesday, Mom and I left town for several days. We rendezvoused with your Uncle Ernie and Des and Mom's cousin Connie and her husband Ron. And on Wednesday morning, we left to drive to Berlin, Ohio, which is on the the east side of the state, in the foothills of the Appalachians, okay? And Amish country, and I will tell you, there are a lot of hills, steep hills, a lot of buggies with horse-drawn buggies that carry Amish, but not near as many buggies as there was 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, because now 99% of the Amish are riding e-bikes, and they're scooting around. We saw young kids, 10, 12 years old. We saw somebody as old as me riding a three-wheeled e-bike. And they don't go slow. They're going 40, 45 miles an hour, zipping through town, keeping up with every bit of traffic, semis, cars, and passing the buggies just left and right. Wednesday night, we were invited to go to an Amish home, and Ari is her name, and she fixed supper for us in an authentic, a truly Amish home. Friday, let me say this before I say Friday. Because I'm not driving and because I don't have control of the radio, there was no music being played, and I had only limited opportunity to listen to any music.
Anything. That's why I brought it up about your week in music. It is affecting your score a little bit.
Yeah.
And you only get a couple of times through this album, keep going.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. On Friday night, we went to the Amish Country Theater and laughed uproariously because these performers make fun of, they kind of mock, they relate to the Amish, and they take some popular songs and turn them into what would sound like Amish music. And there was a ventriloquist there. There was a guy who does card tricks, a musician who does card tricks, and he spun cards and sliced a piece of celery with a regular bicycle brand card. He flipped a card, and this is a fairly large auditorium, seats maybe 700 or so. He flipped a card across the stage and went just as high as the stage was, and he hit at the top of this theater a playing card. And he challenged 4 people to come up and flip a card, and then a couple of them went out and came back. But guy's incredible, very good. So today I was listening to some of our album, well, I'm riding my bicycle, and I did get a bike ride in this morning. I'm reading the book Band of Brothers. I did get some opportunity. One afternoon, I didn't go out with the fam, so I got to read a chapter of Band of Brothers, and I've been soaking that in. I'm just caught up with, enthralled by the action of Easy Company and what they are encountering as they make their way across France and Belgium and into Germany.
Have you seen the show?
No.
Finish the book, and then I'll send you the link.
Okay.
For the Band of Brothers.
I'd like that.
It's amazing.
I'd like that.
Mm.
Okay. That's. Oh, I'm sorry. Today was a funeral. 91-year-old lady who just is such a sweetheart. She one of the most godly people. She talked Jesus all the time. She appreciated prayer. She prayed for everybody. What's interesting, 91 years old, her husband was 86. She died 13 hours later. He died.
Oh,
13 hours to the minute he died. And it's just unbelievable.
Heartbroken or something else?
Something else. He had begun to go through some real change physically and medically and mentally. So it's just a glorious thing that here's two people that you know, they're in heaven. Brothers, they're in heaven. There's no doubt about it. And he was a Marine. So there was occasion where old Tom, he could throw a word out or two, and she'd just look at him and shake her head and just say, well, that's him. That's him.
That's the Marine coming out in him.
That's the Marine. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Proud Marine.
Yeah.
So that's my week. Thank you.
Okay. He's staring at me, so I guess it's my turn. He's zoned out about 20 minutes ago. He's just looking.
He's probably listening to music.
He probably is. He's got David Binney in his ear right now. Like, I don't care what you guys say. Yeah. I had a great week in music. Wednesday, I got to go out to Sweetwater. Delaney was playing with Missy Burgess, and so I got to go. Kendra and I got to go watch Delaney Lady D play with Missy Burgess and her guitar player and bass player, and Missy plays the guitar as well. So yeah, Delaney got to play with a quartet for an hour out at Sweetwater. Loved every minute of it. Anytime I get a chance to go see Lady D play, I'm not going to pass that up. My weekend music was kind of eclectic because I wanted to check out some of these other artists. Chris Potter is one of those names that we've heard before. Don't think I've listened to much of his music, and you could probably rattle off 4 or 5 albums that we've heard him on, but the name just wasn't familiar with me. So I went out, started listening to some Chris Potter. Scott Coley's album from 2006 called Architect of the Silent Moment, which David Binney plays on that album. Antonio Sanchez plays on the album as well. So Scott Coley's album, Architect of the Silent Moment. Came back to 2007, Oceanos, which is David Binney's album. I fell in love with that album, and I'll tell you, I pinned it to the top of my iTunes. Yeah. That album, Oceanos, is pinned because I love it so much. I'll come back and listen to South, but it's going to be a hard choice between South and Oceanos.
David Binney and Edward Simon.
On Oceanos. Yeah. It's just top notch. On Saturday night, we were invited to a small little get together called Cornstalk, like Woodstock. This was Cornstalk. This is a small, very, very small music festival that goes on in Grable, Indiana. And they asked Delaney to come be the house drummer And Delaney's got a new band that she formed. So her new band got to play. We got to meet the band at breakfast Saturday morning at the VFW. Dad, we missed you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we missed Mom at breakfast.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. We missed Mom at breakfast.
She brings a spice and everything nice.
No, we miss you too. But yeah, we got to meet the band Saturday morning at breakfast. And then we got to see the band play Saturday night at Cornstalk. And of course, Delaney was in and out. This was a kind of a jam. You know, if you brought your guitar and you could sign up and sign up for the jam and just kind of get up, sing a couple of songs, and then walk off stage. And it was actually pretty cool. It was they provided the meat and the plates and napkins and silverware, and asked everyone to bring a side dish. And so it was a smorgasbord of food and a smorgasbord of music. So yeah, that was Saturday night. I gotta tell you, I listened to South. I'm not joking. Probably 10 times last week, just to get it in my brain, just so that it would be recognizable, and I don't regret it one bit. So I had a great week listening to music. Really did. Really did.
That's
all right, Drew. Now it's your turn. Tell me when you're done, because I'm going to listen to music while you talk.
I think you should. So next week, we're going to be digging into Mr. Terrence Blanchard.
You haven't talked about your week.
I'm looking forward to this album. It's called Bounce. It came out in 2003 and is on Blue Note Records. It's got 9 tracks on it. It's just a little over an hour long. Terrence Blanchard, trumpet player, amazing musician. I'm looking forward to what comes next week. So y'all stay tuned for our conversation on Terrence Blanchard and all the other stuff that comes with it. So until next week, we'll see you guys.
Wait a minute.